What's up, Fearless Gamers? It's the Wild Card from Fearless Games here, and it's time for another podcast. I'm joined by...
Matt the Clown.
And Matt the Vet.
Two Matts. I don't know what I'm going to do here.
Well, they usually just call me Biz on this.
Yeah.
Yes, but as for anyone
explain.
knows, yes, they call me Biz on this.
Long story, we're not going to explain it.
No.
Unless you ask.
Nope, even then. We'll give you a fake story, it'll be funny.
Yeah, it's a secret. Keep it secret, keep it
Full
safe.
of explosions. And dance choreography.
I hate you
and
people.
Bilbo Businesses.
What?
Bilbo Businesses?
Rainbow
What?
seconds?
I hate you.
And there's also another person in the room, but she's probably going to be very quiet unless we say something.
It's a
she really
ninja.
likes.
All right.
Yeah, well, you know.
It's a girl ninja, which means she's pretty much almost naked because you can't see almost naked ninjas.
Well, it's
That's
just...
not really true.
Well, if you look at... That's a good topic you bring up. Why is it in fantasy games, for the most part, because that's where you see it.
Yeah,
especially
true.
in, like, fantasy MMOs and games. Like, especially if you're forced to play a female character, because, you, like, for example...
Like classes only in a female.
Classes only in a female.
God, I hate when they do that.
Like, in Diablo 2.
Yeah.
You have the Amazon, the Assassin, and the Sorceress. All female only. Why is it the better armor I get, with the exception of the Amazon later up, the less they're wearing?
Yeah. That's something I like to call endemic in the industry. That's a big word. That's an SAT word for those of you who don't know the word. Look it up.
What does it mean?
Explain it. We have kids watching.
I thought you both would know. Okay. No, endemic basically means it's essentially a plague.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
You know, like it's a bad thing that is everywhere.
Don't insult my vocabulary. It's small, but I know endemic. I've seen enough.
Well, there's a lot about you.
I've seen enough zombie movies. Okay.
But yeah, no, it absolutely
epidemic.
is. It absolutely is endemic in the industry, in that it's like, I can't think of a game where I play as a female character under any circumstances, whether it be choice or not, and my armor doesn't
Cover.
show off that I'm a girl at all costs. You guys continue. I'm gonna check the door.
Have fun with that.
Probably my brother.
It's not delivery. It's the genre. Okay, guys. But no, it's true, and this is mostly in a fantasy setting. You know, skin tight stuff.
Makes sense.
It kind of makes sense in certain situations
Because you don't want your stuff getting catched and making noise.
And you know, if you're trying to go with the whole sex sells a little bit, which is the way you do things in industries. And
yes.
Look at motorcycles, cars, whatever it is. We're gonna listen in. Okay, let's see if we can hear. We'll cut out if we can't hear it. Something about positions. I have no idea.
Neither do I.
No idea what just happened. But if we can't hear it and post it, we're just gonna cut it.
Is this thing fun?
No, not really.
We were trying to listen in on what you had to say.
Oh no, some dude running for village trustee or something.
I
don't really care.
don't even know what a village trustee does.
Neither do I. That's why I don't care.
I wouldn't trust them.
Oh!
But to
yeah, no.
to get back to it, it's
booby armor is the worst.
It's a bit of a problem because I mean, I'm a guy interested in chicks, and if you're not, that's fine. But I don't necessarily have a problem with it.
I love this face that we're getting.
She's just
her.
like she looks like there's lemons all in her mouth.
And we just said something like for the 5th time that she told us not to say.
Yeah,
With lemons.
With lemons, always involving lemons.
Yes.
But, you know, I don't need my game.
Yeah, they don't have to
have
be naked at all times.
And the problem with that is that it puts a stereotype in the industry.
Yeah.
And the stereotype is a bunch
absolutely.
of pathetic guys, and we're not all
Absolutely.
pathetic.
No.
Whoa, hey,
No,
hey,
by and large,
Star-Lord's not here.
By and large, you would yes, the majority of people probably are male,
Yes.
but they're not.
They don't play games for
They're not
sexy
playing
women.
it for the sex appeal. They'll do other stuff for sexy women.
No, I'm sure there is that market. The problem is that market is getting smaller and smaller by the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another problem I have with it, aside from it being like, hey, let's promote the stereotype of gamers are all
Sexism.
13-year-olds,
Yeah.
is well, yeah, it's sexist, but it's also like it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make
And
any
it
sense.
really shatters any immersion I would have. Because I'll play as a male character in, I'm just going to say it, Guild Wars 2. I'll play as my male character, and I'm running around heavy armored, like, and and there's really only like one armor set for the male that shows off any amount of skin, and it's not so much that it's like I'm looking sexy. It's like, no, I just look like Conan the Barbarian. But then it's like the same armor set of like heavy knightly armor on the female. It's like it's heavy armor, but like her boobs are sticking out, and like
Xena Warrior Princess.
Essentially, but worse, because there's like midriff going, and it's really like it boggles my mind because it's like, wait a minute,
It doesn't make sense.
wait a minute. Do women have harder skin?
Do you have harder skin?
That's a negatory. Goes.
She says
Like,
no.
I mean, there's some. It breaks the immersion. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's just there to be eye candy, and it's kind of. It's kind of
dumb.
insulting to not just women, but it's insulting to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you're telling me what I want to see. It's like,
Well-
no, I'd like to see a Joan of Arc in, like, the same armor as a dude you can't tell.
Well, the good
More than I'd like to see.
I think there's a
fake boobies.
statement that that one of our roommates at college said.
Which one?
Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
His brother once said, his brother tends to play female characters.
Right.
And so his statement is if I'm gonna stare at someone's rear end for hours on end, it might as well be a girl. So I think that's the problem is that kind of statement is what causes these developers to make these skimpier outfits because chances are it's a dude playing the chick, so we need to have them show off their rear end for
That's
them.
fine. And I don't mind the inclusion of certain armor sets that are that way. Like I said, there's a couple of armor sets in Guild Wars 2, where there's like one or two heavy armor sets for male characters in Guild Wars 2, where you're not really wearing a whole lot, and that's fine. Including one or two of those armor sets is okay. But
Every
if that's
armor set.
all the female gets, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
You play Skyrim and all the female armors have like the boob plate and like the butt plate, and it's just like, why not also give me the option of playing a female character that wears proper freaking armor?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And like, if some, the thought is, well, the assassin, whatever. I get the idea.
Right,
Maybe
certain
a
classes
class.
too. Yeah, like light armored classes. Yeah, you're wearing pants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I get it, but at the same time, it's something that doesn't make sense. Especially like I said, the heavy armored paladin, knightly type.
Right.
Like I see your stomach stab, you're dead. I mean, I don't understand the
I
concept.
can understand it more with like spellcasting classes,
Right.
like the Elementalist in Guild Wars 2. Most of their clothes, especially for the women, are like they're wearing like pretty dresses or like little skimpy skirts and like midriff stuff, whatever. Like
Gotta be able to move.
Right, you're not relying on armor, you're throwing spells around.
Yeah,
So
relying
that
on
makes
that.
that's a little more forgivable. But if you're a knight,
You shouldn't be covered in
wear
armor.
your armor. Like, what are you
And,
doing? It's like seeing it's like your problem with when people when Space Marines don't wear their helmets.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
it's like wear your damn helmet.
It's a helmet. It's there to help you. It has all of your tactical information on it, and it stops a bullet.
Right. Helmets. Your helmet is just as important as the metal that exists on your chest.
In fact, some may say a little bit more so.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I know you're not gonna like this, but I just want to bring this up because it's just mind-boggling with
I'll
me.
be bringing up some of that I want to bring up if you are on the same page.
I don't know.
Let's see.
For anyone who is not aware, because they want to brandish it out of their minds, DMC just came out.
Murder you. We had, dude. I told you it would be like the whole podcast if you brought this up.
But what I found was there's this video online called FU Special Edition, which basically just sums up the entire game. And a common thing is this one quote that one person said, "Oh, the dialogue in the story is very Shakespearean." Then they'd cut in a line
that
where they
was
go,
the head
"F
developer.
you, F
That was
you,
the head developer. He
F
said the game
you."
was Shakespearean, and that is a man who doesn't know what Shakespearean
No, it's a
means.
girl. That,
Really?
In this comment, it was
I
a
could
girl.
have sworn it was to me.
Well, the
They both might have said
the
it.
clip was like a game reviewer, and she says it's almost Shakespearean, and then they
I'm
cut
pretty
in
sure
a guy
Tamim
going,
has
"F
also
you,
said it. Yeah.
F you," and
Yeah.
what the clips that they show in this FU Special Edition indicates
The writing is not Shakespearean.
no that for a game that's supposed to be a reboot of the series system, the whole 9 yards.
Go on.
They did nothing original. It was literally the plot of 1, 2, and 3 mushed into one.
Yes and no.
Because Mundus is in it,
well, that's not
the
that's,
evil.
That's like saying Ganon is in Ocarina of Time.
They're fighting an evil corporation, which was the villain in 2.
That's
and
true.
there were
I forgot about that.
And in the video clips that they showed, there are scenes that are pretty much reenacting line for line scenes from Devil May Cry 3. So they clearly just took parts of the old games and mushed them to make a new game.
Here's essentially the plot of the game. John Carpenter's They Live, but with demons instead of aliens.
You know, I never saw that.
What's wrong with you? Go watch that right now. But I think the biggest amount of butt pain I'm experiencing over this game right now is there's a scene in the game when Dante like cuts into like a costume shop or something, and a white wig goes through the air and lands on his head, and he looks in the mirror, and it's essentially like literally the original Dante's hair. And he looks in the mirror and goes, "Not in a million years." And I'm sitting there like, screw you, Ninja Theory. Like, you don't need to actively insult the fans of the original franchise. And then these people, they got some brass ones for $4 very soon. Do you know what you can buy?
Dante.
You can buy a skin to play as original Dante.
Yet it's not voiced by the same person.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is?
No, it's voiced by the guy who voices the game. It's the same thing, just a different skin.
I'm just saying it's not the same voice actor.
Yeah, I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah.
So at the same time they're insulting something and saying, "Oh, not in a million years," they're also giving that to us. I guess as an attempt to be like, "We're sorry."
So here's the question then: how does that scene play out?
From what I've heard. And, citation needed, but from what I've heard, cutscenes, he goes back to what he actually looks like in the game. Like, you lose your $4 skin for cutscenes.
I see.
That's annoying. There are some games where you have skins like that, but
that happened in Assassin's Creed 3 as well, which bothered me.
They took the extra, the games that take the extra time to put it in the cutscene as well. And for most, it doesn't be every single one. It's more thumbs up. But anyway.
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't mind in Assassin's Creed 3, for example, when I went and I bought a new costume for Connor. It was just a different color scheme or whatever, and it didn't stick in the cutscenes. Whatever, it was a color scheme. This is like
a full-on change of the character.
It's a full-on change of the character to a skin that the head developer has done nothing but insult and nothing but talk down about and nothing but say we're never going to make him look like that, and then has an actual cutscene insulting it.
Yep.
And then they also sell it to you for $4 because Capcom needs to choke and die.
And just so people know, in case anyone's not aware, the reason why Dante looks the way he does is the main character designer, when he found out he was going to be designing Devil May Cry, said, "I wished I looked like Dante."
It's something like that. All right, the head developer, Tamim, the guy who basically runs Ninja Theory, he looks a lot like current Dante. I'm not calling him Dante. Sorry, I'm butthurt. And the theory is that he had a direct influence over that, making new character look like himself. But when the game first came out, when they first showed this awful-looking, sort of methed-out guy, the guy flat out said, Dante looking as he did, if he walked into a bar outside of Tokyo, he'd be laughed out. But then you have this guy running around in, like, clothes that would get him laughed out of a bar anyway. And you're also selling us the original costume that people really wanted. And another one of the costumes that they're coming out from is, aside from the color scheme, thread for thread, what Eric Draven wears in The Crow. And if he were to walk in to a bar now, outside of like a goth bar, he'd get laughed out. In fact, Tamim has also said what was cool 10 years ago isn't cool now. When did The Crow come out, James? When did The Crow come out?
Long ago.
When did The Crow come out?
Well, here's the thing: is he's saying that if he went to a Tokyo bar, he'd get
outside of Tokyo.
Outside
he'd get
of
laughed
Tokyo.
out.
Okay.
Which is.
There are people who go
There's
out...
so many words I want to say that I can't because we want to keep the channel family friendly.
But here's the other thing with that, is Dante is a character who wouldn't give a crap if everyone laughed at him.
And he's not the kind of guy who really goes to a bar.
No, he doesn't. He has his own
He'd
booth.
go to an ice cream bar. Like, the man likes strawberry sundaes.
Instead of the super technical, so if you be at a bar or not, it's just the point is, not just...
It's also not just video game.
Yeah, not just that character, but in a lot of characters these days and recently, they all wear stuff that are just like, why would you wear that? Or you can't make that actually happen.
And then cool is subjective. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
cool is entirely subjective. Tamim clearly thinks this character that he has put into this game looks cool. I disagree with that because he looks like a hobo. He's got the Union Jack on one sleeve for some reason. He's not British.
Yeah, he was.
The character's not British. Character's never been British.
Hipster.
Doesn't his games take place in England?
Not that I'm aware of. The theory is that because Ninja Theory themselves are a British company, something with including the Union Jack, I think gets them a tax break or something.
Okay.
Citation needed.
Could be wrong.
That's interesting if it's true.
But cool is subjective. I happen to think Dante from Devil May Cry 1 is very cool. Dante from Devil May Cry 2, not cool. Doesn't look cool. Dante from Devil May Cry 3, crazy cool. Like, I'm a huge fan of Devil May Cry 3 and 4 as Dante. I don't like this character. He's not Dante. He's not the guy I thought was cool.
It is subjective. And
exactly.
Also,
that's what I'm getting.
It almost brings it back to the first thing you mentioned with maybe some people think maybe women in fantasy games are cool because they're not wearing much armor. It's cool because they got the same armor save, basically. But it's like, it's not the... I had this one argument, this comes to my head, made to me before. It's like, well, she's wearing plate, but they're representing it through the ability to not get hit. And it's not that she's using armor; she's using like grace and skill. And I said,
don't wear armor.
And I said, okay, number one, that's not the way. You clearly have a dodge animation when somebody dodges.
And also, number one, with that, then you don't make the armor bonus higher. You give them an agility bonus that adds to their armor. That's how they do that.
Like, it didn't make sense to me.
Like, that's how rogues get their armor in D&D, is you give them weaker armor so they can use their dex.
So you basically just dodge.
Yes. And that's how you play that.
And that brings me to a point that I want to make.
Okay.
For the sake of making it. And it may be open up a little bit of worms. I don't care.
Worms are okay.
Personally,
they're good for fishing.
They are. And early birds.
Fishing for trouble.
And early birds. And
early
that
birds
is when I play a game, unless I don't have the absolute, ability to make a male character, I usually don't play female characters because I'm a guy. I want to play guys. And most of the girls who I know who play games play women. And I don't have a problem with people doing the opposite, but I'm curious on the exact percentage of male players playing female characters.
I'm typically the same way as you. I approach games in such a way as, yes, a lot of it is a sort of power fantasy for me. Is it a specifically male power fantasy? I don't know. But I play games to escape, and yes, I often put myself in the role of that character I'm playing as, which is why I tend to play as males. I very recently have strayed from that a little bit in MMOs, where I've made a couple of female characters in Guild Wars. But, I haven't played Bayonetta. I've heard it's great, but I can't get past the main character. And you know what? Maybe that's sexist of me. I don't know.
One thing,
but it's a personal thing.
One thing I know, I'm not going to change you with this at all, but Bayonetta is probably the closest we'll get to a classic Devil May Cry
it was made by the same team.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, it's the closest we're ever going to get to.
If I ever play it, that'll be why.
Yeah.
But it's just I can't.
And
I don't know.
In digital format, when it comes to genders, whatever. I'll play Diablo 2 Sorceress because I want to cast spells.
But D&D,
surprisingly,
but when it comes to pen and paper, I think pen and paper is where it's completely different.
Yeah.
I really find it quite odd because it not only is it's not going to be awkward for the person who wants to play a female character, but when it comes to interactions, it can make things awkward for people.
It really depends.
You constantly call them him when you're supposed to be saying her.
It really depends on the player.
It does.
Because I've played with players who play pretty much solely female characters, even though, my buddy Rob plays a lot of female characters. I'm not going to say solely female characters. I've seen him play male characters. But he plays a lot of female characters. And at the same time, he does it in a way where I remember to say she.
Yeah.
And I don't really think it's awkward. He doesn't play up the girl bits.
Yeah.
He's not like, I'm gonna go to the bar and find some D and get the D. Whereas there are a lot of players who play a female character and that's all they do.
That's because a lot of them have that weird fantasy they're trying to act out.
Right. Yeah. And then I've also played with, Drew. You remember Drew? When he plays a female character. And he'd just do nothing but cutesy garbage that he thinks females do, but they don't. Girls don't behave that way. Stop it.
Another thing is just going back with that is sometimes when I play female characters in MMOs, a lot of the times it's usually like a good example is if when I played World of Warcraft, I only played female night elves because I thought the guy just looked stupid. He looked like they took a triangle and stuffed him on legs.
That makes sense.
That's why I originally made a female Norn in Guild Wars 2. The male Norns look a little weird, and I find it hilarious that the female Norns look like Megan Fox.
And the one thing I just want to know is the guys that do play female characters in MMOs, if you do, that's fine.
Yeah.
How often do you try to trick a guy into thinking you're a girl?
That's actually, depending on who you listen to, that's either really, really common or not common at all.
Yeah.
But it happens. That's the one thing everyone agrees on. It happens.
And it's weird because it's kind of, that's just awkward when you think about the concept.
I actually read a story recently. I don't know how true this story is. It was read on the internet. But there was a guy talking about how he's made nothing but female characters, and he role plays very heavily with these female characters, and he's role playing with a very specific community with these female characters. But one day he decides to make a male character. He wants to sort of pioneer that male character, so he makes it so that he doesn't appear as if he's online, so that he doesn't have to because he doesn't want the people he role plays with knowing that he actually is a guy. So, and he's not really sure how to approach it, so he just appears as if offline, and ends up running into the same group of friends he always plays with, and they try to friend him as this male character. And of course the jig is up, and it's all very awkward. He's like, he doesn't know if he can keep playing because the jig is up. But the idea of that is mind-boggling to me. Like,
oh yeah,
like I get your role playing, but I'm sure that there's certain times where out-of-character conversation happens. I've done a lot of role-playing online and like chat rooms and stuff. Out-of-character conversation just always tended to happen, especially if you role-play with somebody regularly. Did you flat out lie to your friends? And why are you lying to your friends?
Do you? You do? You can talk, you can speak.
But you're allowed.
That's funny.
For anyone who didn't know, I just asked the girl who does a lot of role-playing online and fakes her gender a lot, and... Now,
so in out-of-character conversation, you flat out lie to people. You tell them you're...
If you're playing a guy character and they're talking to you out of character, do you continue
I'm not judging,
the
I'm just curious why.
I could see it. I mean, the thing I wonder is, how, this is a female example, how often is it the female beating the male online?
I think that actually would probably be more common.
I mean, it might be.
I think that would probably be more common... just because there are a lot of women who don't want to be treated differently.
It's true, and but I wonder, I guess I can definitely say it's being more common, also more accepted because the moment somebody finds out as a female, instant friends, let's talk, buddy,
instant friends list, instant gifts, instant
really kind of
different behavior. But so that I actually would be more willing to be like, oh, I get that. Yeah. Like a guy pretending to be a girl, it's like
weird because the automatic assumption is the gifts, the free stuff.
Right. It's like, are you doing it for free stuff? Are you doing it for like?
You have to ask.
I know we're probably gonna end up pissing off any like transgender crowd we might have. Which if we do,
bravo,
we hit a pretty broad audience.
Yeah, if we do, that is awesome.
That's not what I'm getting at. Like real life gender dysphoria, whatever. We're talking about a guy who identifies as a man in real life, pretending to be a woman online, who not necessarily in a sexual context,
and not because he wishes you were a woman,
right? But because he wants the online people to. Well, it might not even be because of that. I don't. That's what I'm assuming.
I don't know
because I don't understand it. I'm not trying to talk like. Transgender people are silly. That's not what I'm saying.
No, that's all totally cool and totally you. But one thing I do like about MMOs and stuff like that is sometimes you're pigeonholed to playing the female character, which is fine. And I think the one I did it very well is Warhammer Fantasy Online. Because you have because it did it very well for a couple of reasons. Because they kept with the fluff that this is pretty much
that's
and
why I'm
on top of that. The orcs are not, their gender is orc. They're not male or female, their gender is orc, and it makes so much sense.
The only real situation where it's like you're pigeonholed into one gender in that game is the witch elf.
Yeah, and it made sense in that category.
And I was like, alright, I get it by the fluff. I wished I could have played a male witch elf because I thought the witch elf was cool, but I didn't like the fact that I was essentially running around in a bikini.
Yeah, but I think, I don't remember, because I haven't played it in God knows how long, but
it's been a while.
I think there were a couple of classes in particular races that you were pigeonholed to being only a man.
I think there was.
I'm trying to think. There definitely
Maybe
was.
the Marauder? I don't know.
No, I think you can make a female Marauder. It's been so long. I know you're right. I know it's true, and I know it's not just orc.
Yeah.
I want to say it happened most with Dark Elves. I want to say it was the Dark Elf tank guy.
The Blackguard.
Blackguard.
I think
I'm pretty sure that was it.
Wasn't the Chaos Warrior also?
Oh, the Chosen was only male.
The
Yeah, the Chosen was only male.
Could you be a female? Whatever the fire mage thing was?
Yes.
Okay, I never tried.
But that was
I never made one of those.
But that was just I thought a cool because it wasn't just.
What about the dwarf? I think there were some dwarf ones where you can only be a guy.
I never played dwarf because
I think like the Iron Dwarf or whatever it was called.
But I like that. It was kind of I don't want to say a role reversal because that's just weird. But it's the fact that we're not going to pigeonhole just for this. We're also going to do this because it makes sense in the context. And I think
exactly. They were consistent with their fluff, and that's okay.
So again, we're not trying to offend anybody. No. It's just a pure wondering because
I don't get it.
It's a general curiosity.
I don't get it
because we as people
all.
don't understand. It's not. We're not saying
I'm allowed not to understand something just as much as you're allowed to be you.
So I just want to say it to see how many people get it. But I met Arlie Ermy over the weekend.
Yeah, and I'm jealous.
Nice.
For those of you who don't know who Arlie Ermy is, you're a bad person.
Yeah. Mail call.
Chances are you probably know him, but just didn't know his name.
Yeah,
like that was my situation.
Exactly.
I knew who he was.
Full Metal Jacket, The Frighteners,
and and Mail Call. Fun history chat.
Yeah, he was also
he's been in a bunch of movies. He was in the remake
Saving Silverman,
and he was in the remake of
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Thank you. I was about to start doing chainsaw movements.
And for the more obscure crowd who maybe will pick this up, in X-Men: Last Stand, he's the voice of the military guy giving them the weapon when they get the weapons to the anti-mutant them.
Really?
He's the voice of them going, "This is the whatever." That's his voice. But
I think he's done other voice work too.
He was the leader of the training planet in Hobo 13 in Invader Zim.
Yes. But he was also in Family Guy. He was the drill sergeant for the Knights.
Odds are, if you're watching a fairly modern film or show and there's a drill sergeant involved, probably Arlie.
Yeah, especially if he's an old guy because he's older now.
Yeah.
But it was funny is I met him. Me and my friend went to the motorcycle show here in the city happened, and we're online and we get closer to him because it's not like a big line, but he's just in the middle of the booth.
Wait, was he a guest or was he?
Yeah, he's a guest.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
He's actually the
because I thought you were like standing online to get in, and you're like. Oh my God.
He was a guest there, but we didn't. It wasn't like advertised. He's just there. He's there with Victory, the motorcycle company. Victory. So we get closer. We hear him start talking. He starts talking. People are having a good time. And I tell my friend,
here's a really nice guy.
And I go to my friend. He talks just like him. Did
you say that to him? Please tell me you said that to Ernie himself.
What I said to him is, "Thanks for being awesome."
I hear he's actually a really great guy.
He's a great guy.
Which is funny because you watch him in films, he's such a jerk. He's such a monster. But then, you talk to him in real life,
he's a nice guy.
Really nice dude.
He's a nice dude, and when I was talking to him, I sat up and it's like, "How's it going?" And one of the people in front of us actually asked him to choke him for the picture. So it looks like he's getting choked out by Arlie Ermy. And we talked about that. I talked about that when I met him. I said, "Hi, how you doing?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm the only person that people come up to me and ask me to take a picture with me choking their wife." And it's just like he's like, "Fine, come here."
It's just like that's a little.
But it's just
that guy went home and did something.
But the thing is, there was a woman on the line too, and it was just funny because it's like they love it. They just love being there.
They love him being.
He's awesome, and it's funny as he was there.
Wow.
Standing, there was no big sign saying Arlie Ermy. People walk by and just go, "That's Arlie Ermy."
Yeah. Let me get on that line.
It was like when one year I went to Icon.
Yeah.
Elvira was there.
I follow her on Facebook. She was my first crush.
And I sat there and there's a picture of her in the Elvira getup, and I had to do a double take. I was like, "No, you're not that person."
She doesn't look a lot like Elvira when she's not in the Elvira suit. But when you look at her outside of it, she's still the only 60 to 7-year-old woman that I'm still attracted to.
She is extremely hot even at that age.
Really, really pretty, even at the age she's at. It's uncanny.
Yeah, no.
She's also apparently very cool, from what I've heard.
But I said
she did a Gangnam Style thing actually.
The only like I sat there, I was like, the only way you could look this like this and be Elvira as if you actually were a vampire.
Yes.
Because
Right. Well, she has aged a little bit.
yeah, but
it's still like
like between her, like when I saw her between her and the picture, like I was like, you can't be the same person. You're wait,
it's crazy.
There's too much time has passed for you to not look different.
I can't say that about Ollie Ermy, but he doesn't look like
he's aged, but he doesn't look like
he doesn't. He aged hard.
I say he aged.
He hasn't
He's dignified
gracefully.
with age.
Yeah.
And it was just cool because I was looking at motorcycles, going motorcycles cool, and of course it's a motorcycle show, so they got the attractive women everywhere.
Yes.
It's just the way it goes.
Of course they do.
But then we were most
wish I'd gone with you.
excited and the most nervous on Arlie Ermy's line. I was actually nervous. And but
all excited.
that being said, my motorcycle of course was there, not my physical one, but the model.
Yeah.
But I sat for anybody in motorcycles, if you're of an older crowd, which there are, and it's mostly attributed to the older crowd, it's the Honda Goldwing. I finally sat on one and I want it. It's so nice, but it's expensive.
Now, so tell me, how many booths were doing like a giveaway with a motorcycle with a girl standing on the motorcycle and everyone filling out the form going, "Do you come with the motorcycle?"
Hardly any.
Oh, you just made me nauseous. With
Hardly
that line.
any were actually there as a giveaway, like sitting on. Hardly any giveaways of the bikes there. Like the most contests, they fill out a form, hand it to the person, and you leave. But there, every booth, Ducati had the attractive women in red dresses.
Well, yeah,
every
you
booth
got
has
it.
it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And Victory went out hardcore because you got Arlie Ermy.
Yeah.
And they had a thing. I just refused to get on the line because I don't want to seem desperate. But I had a thing. There's a motorcycle. You can take a picture on purpose with 3 Playboy playmates. Now,
Dang.
which is just like, dude, you busted out all of your arsenal at this show. You got Arlie Ermy and Playmates. What is
you
this?
spent a lot of money. Congratulations.
But yeah, it was a fun little show. It was only for the weekend. Unlike the International Auto Show, which is like almost a week and a half to 2 weeks, this is only a weekend. But yeah, I just want to bring that because Arlie Ermy, that's the most excited I've been for seeing somebody famous like ever.
I am jealous. I'm not gonna lie.
So yes, that was a fun time.
I might have put him on the arm.
As for anyone who hasn't seen him or anything, he's got Stanley's autograph on his
my
arm.
left arm.
Yes. He went to Stanley signed it, and then we rushed him to a tattoo parlor.
All he said was "wear." It's like go for it. Like you don't tell the man not. Like, you don't give him orders.
You're just lucky he didn't go Stanley Excelsior, because then it would have just been like,
dude, that would have been like, all right, life achieved.
Yes.
Like, well,
But,
maybe not life, but maybe get a life.
Yeah,
But,
get a life achievement award.
exactly. It's like, well, I'm never getting another girlfriend. But
and lastly, Arlie Ermy, surprisingly great handwriting.
Yeah.
Surprisingly very neat. I mean, I write like a
he was
doctor.
a military man, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But
There you go.
I just expect the fact that he's older now. He's just like, I'm Arlie Ermy, whatever. But
Nah, he's a military. They're
he's
disciplined,
great. No, he
dude.
is. But he was really nice. Like, yeah, he had conversation. Somebody left the booth with the picture. I guess he was starstruck. Left his autograph there. Arlie Ermy took it, said, "I'll be right back," and chased him down and gave him the autograph.
That's
cool.
awesome.
That's cool.
That's
was
awesome.
great.
That's cool. I like hearing when celebrities are cool like that.
Yeah. And
Like,
if you're a celebrity and you're watching this, first off,
oh my god, we always make these comments. If you're listening to this and you're this
but if you
very
are, I mean,
specific-
maybe Robin Williams is, because I know he played.
Yeah,
before.
he loved.
Oh, dude! If
From
I heard
my-
that Robin Williams was listening to our podcast or watching Touching Base,
From my
oh
understanding,
my god!
now I know the Stark Lord will hate me for this because he's like, no, we can't do this because we got to leave the mystery involved. But I heard once, if you're like in the New York City area, and if Robin Williams is in town or something, there's a store called The Complete Strategist. I've been told he goes to that store to buy Warhammer 40K stuff.
Now
That's
this is
pretty
all.
cool.
This is all.
This is all speculation.
Yeah, it's
you know,
citation needed.
this is just what we've heard.
We haven't had time to camp out that store and find
But
out.
going on,
Yeah.
if you haven't seen the Touching Base episode, if he does go in, don't mob the man. Just say, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah.
and go off.
Yeah.
Well, know how to treat celebrities.
Yes,
But
yeah.
But if you're watching this and you're a celebrity, and-
Are you willing to talk to us on the show?
Yeah.
Hey,
number one, just
get
for
in touch.
fun. Number two, I hope you're one of those cool celebrities. And if you're not, you're a celebrity. You have no reason but to be cool. You got that life that everybody pretty much wants. If you're a celebrity and you're not like G-list, but you're like Arlie Ermy or above, you know, people who are like hot right now, super hot right now. What do you got to be grumpy about? You got mobs of fans, which could be annoying, the paparazzi annoying, but you got money. And you got places to go and people to be.
I will say there are celebrities that do have things to be grumpy about.
Of course they do.
But those are the ones, from what I've heard, who tend to be cooler. Specifically, I'm talking about Keanu Reeves. Apparently, Keanu Reeves, outside of the fact that he's like a major movie star, has been through some
stuff.
yeah, thank you.
Oh
Some
yeah.
Smurf.
No,
Some Smurf.
of course they're gonna have people.
Like
have
apparently, like
issues.
his his parents were like, kind of
Yeah.
And like there's like he had this really great girlfriend, but like she essentially died in his arms. Like, that's some Smurf. But also, from what I've heard, Keanu Reeves is one of the coolest people you'll ever meet.
But at the same time, I'm not saying that they don't have real life problems. They're people. But if you're there because you're a celebrity, you're not there as a person. You're there to be the celebrity spokesperson or the celebrity panel because you're there with the express purpose of meeting your fans. Be a cool dude or do that.
Like Vin Diesel, I hear he's really awesome.
I hear Vin Diesel, Ryan Gosling, and Keanu Reeves are like 3 really great people.
I hear Patrick Stewart's pretty cool.
How could you not?
I think the best Patrick Stewart thing I ever saw was Weird Al did an quote-unquote interview with Patrick Stewart.
Yes, one of those.
For anyone who doesn't know, what Weird Al does is he'll take footage of an interview and then he'll set up his area to make it pseudo look like he's in the area. And he'll ask questions and he'll splice into the answers. So he goes to Patrick Stewart and he's like, he's talking to him and all this stuff. And then he goes, all right, I've got to ask, Kirk or Picard? And Patrick Stewart sits there and goes, and he goes, you obviously must have a preference. And then Patrick Stewart goes, you see, it's a very difficult question to answer. And they just like brush it off like he makes it where Patrick Stewart can't decide if he likes Kirk or Picard more.
That's good.
Which is the question, who do you guys like more?
I don't watch Star Trek.
Star Trek, I don't watch it heavily, but I would say that I grew up as a kid when it was on the TV, it was Picard.
Yeah.
And I think he's just a cooler dude. Look, I like the things about Kirk. He's got my same first name, but and he's not bad. I like both, but if I had to pick, I'd pick Picard solely because of Patrick Stewart because he's not a jerk. Like Shatner
William Shatner is a jerk. Like there was this whole thing just before I give my answer out. There's this TV show that's like this anniversary show, and William Shatner was on it, and this was actually there's another weird funny story about that, but I'll get to that in a minute. But a person goes, oh, do you remember, that time when Chekhov was stuck on the planet and you couldn't launch down a shuttle to get him or anything? He's like, why couldn't you just beam him out? Because you said nothing about beaming him off the planet was not possible. And Shatner goes, dude, it's a TV show. Get a life. And then they cut to commercial. And then when they get back, his total 180 personality. Clearly he was yelled at by producers after he made that comment. But another funny thing with that is apparently in the last Star Trek movie, he said, can I be in it? And they said, well, according to chronological order, sticking with, the timeline, you're dead by this time. And by the time for this to happen, we can't bring you out of the time stream. There's no way to bring you back. You have to sit, your death is set in stone. And he got pissed about that. So much that at the end, they said, you know what? We actually think it would be cool if you did the monologue at the end. And he's like, no, you want to give me a part in the movie? I ain't doing it. And that's why Leonard Nimoy does it.
Yeah, he's kind of like a jerk that way.
I've heard Shatner's kind of a tool.
But apparently he won't do Star Trek signings anymore. Him and Nimoy don't do them anymore.
I can sort of understand that. They're getting old.
Yeah.
I actually heard a story again. A lot of my stories are citation needed today. But where there was a Star Wars anniversary thing going on. And they got Shatner.
He's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Okay. Yeah. She's like the hell is Star Wars?
He sits there, he goes up, and he gets up there, and he goes, thank you, and he goes, Star Trek has changed everything. And everyone starts laughing. He goes, I always love going to these conventions. And then he stops, and he looks at the sign, it goes, celebrate Star Wars, and he's like, then he pulls out a letter, and he goes, dear Mr. Shannon, we'd like you to host the Star Wars? And then all of a sudden, 2 stormtroopers come out, and they start carrying. He's like, wait, no, I can do this. I can do Star Wars. I can do this.
And he did a good job.
He did a pretty good job.
He can do good when you pay him, I guess.
But if you ask me, if I had to choose between Kirk and Picard, I'm always a Captain Kirk guy. I started with the Kirk movies. That's really all I've done is the movies. And for me, Kirk was more a man of action than Picard. And I was like, Picard, just get in there and kick some butt.
He does deck a dude every so often. But I just like Patrick Stewart over Shatner, which is why I go with Picard.
I think the best argument is the Stark Lord always goes, Picard is the man. He punched a Borg in the face. I was like, yeah? Well, Kirk would sleep with it.
That is true. That is very true.
Very true.
But going with Shatner,
he would have found a way to make it love him and sleep with him.
With Shatner and Patrick Stewart, there was a signing. I was talking to somebody about because they were part of this group that do like auctions for charity. So one of them was this whole like this poster that had like TNG and TOS and all that, and you got both cast to sign it, who was alive, obviously, at the time to do it. So they got to sign, and it's Patrick Stewart and Shatner are both at the panel. So Patrick Stewart signs it, no problem. They go to Shatner. Shatner's giving him a hard time, like, what's it for? Like, almost like you have to pay me to do this type of thing. And I don't know how accurate it is because it's their story, but Patrick Stewart basically like went, Shatner, you sign that right now, and basically basically made him sign it.
You know, it's only now that I realize that the answer I should have given. Not because I actually feel this way, but because it's a great way to really bother Star Trek fans. When someone says Kirk or Picard, it's always fun to say Janeway.
Yeah.
Because Star Trek fans just like that, you can hear their sphincter tightening up.
I can hear the clicking of unsubscribing right now.
Yep.
click, click, click,
unsubscribe.
Dislike.
Yeah, I may have just ruined us.
It's like the chant in the Star Blazers for Deathlock.
Yeah.
Dislike.
Some people just.
If anyone knows what I'm talking about, mad props to you.
Yeah,
we don't have exactly mainstream stuff to talk about most of the time.
but
yeah, it's funny because hardcore, like some Star Trek fans are like, oh yeah, screw you, buddy. But like their Star Trek fans are just like, no, no,
bad,
no, dirty.
So yeah, that's the thing.
So
I think we had a good time.
We're good.
We made your ears bleed long enough.
I think I've pissed off enough people.
Yeah, I think
for anyone we did piss off and you stayed through the whole thing, thank you, and we apologize.
Yeah. One thing I'd actually like to end this one on is I'd love to ask anyone who's listening to send us some questions. Yeah, I would love for money. But I think it would be cool if we could start doing some Q&A type stuff on this kind of thing. Because there are going to be times where we're going to be like, I have nothing to talk about.
So yes, like we did mention before, if you have any questions, it can be about the stupidest things like, what'd you think of the Hobbit movie?
Yeah.
Do
you like pizza?
What do you think of the new gun control law? You know,
literally
stuff like that.
Well, let's not go political or religious on this.
Well, there will be some questions we might not answer.
Yes.
Because they may be a little too hot button. They might be a little divisive.
But
go ahead and ask whatever.
We get to choose what to answer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, screw you.
You know, chits, and feel free, but also just for the record, in case. We will most likely say who asked the question, so if there's a question you don't want people to know you're wondering, then you probably don't want to ask it because we're going to say so-and-so asked.
Unless it's a question we've gotten like a million times.
Like,
if everyone's like, do you guys like pepperoni pizza? And we get like 100 people asking that, we're not going to be like, the following 100 people have asked if we like pepperoni pizza. And list the 100 people and then go, no.
We could list them and then have a speed track of
Yeah, but I mean, like, if it's a super frequently asked question, we're probably not going to specify.
If we're going to go down
you're the only guy who asked if I like to put honey on my pizza, which is vile, by the way, then you're going to get called out on it.
Yes.
And if it's going to sink us,
mindful about
we're taking you with us.
Yeah, so
I don't know why all my
mindful
questions are revolving around pizza. I think I'm hungry.
Pizza good.
So just be mindful of that is if there is a question that you want us to ask, if you really want to know, ask us. It could be something personal about us. It could be just general topics. Anything. Feel free to ask. We will dedicate a whole episode to answering questions.
And
or if we don't have a lot of questions, we'll dedicate a segment. Whatever.
Yeah. We'll just answer them.
I would love to have that be a thing.
We like to get feedback. This is almost like a two-way street, and this is general hodgepodge talking, whatever. So if it seems like this is very uncoordinated, it's because it is. We don't know what we're doing.
And like we said before on our last podcast, this is probably the best time to ask those questions because unlike, say, touching base, where that goes on for long periods of time without anything happen, you could ask a question of something relevant now, and it would still be relevant when
an answer within like a week.
Yeah. So like a good example would be, hey, what did you think about the errata that just came out? That's something you can ask and know you can get in a timely manner.
We'll get back to you in a couple of days.
And unlike touching base, where it could be out for a while before we talk about it.
3 or 4 weeks.
And I'm still waiting for those gamers, for you guys to make me your favorite. That's the wild card, by the way.
It'll happen.
WILD space CARD.
Space card.
So,
all right, so I think at that point...
so until next time, this is Matt the Vet.
Matt the Clown.
And this is James the Wild Card. The only person not Matt in this episode.
Yeah.
Take care.
Have a good one, guys.
Take it easy.